Let's see here. Should come in here. And I think you start talking.
Do you want to check also that I'm sounding okay when
Sure.
so that I'm being at some point or something.
There we go.
Okay.
Good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to round one of the Tuesday night marathon here at the world famous Mechanics Institute Chess Club, the oldest chess club in the United States, and this tournament is probably the oldest running weekly tournament in the United States, well, for sure. Started in the mid-70s. Actually 1972, during the height of the Fischer-Spassky, or after the Fischer-Spassky match, when chess was all the rage, started by the director at the time, Raymond Conway. So this tournament's been running for since 1972. Wow. 50-odd years, give or take a decade or two. And as usual, on top board, we don't have some of our young bucks playing like Josiah Stearman and stuff like that at the moment. So we have the old veteran, Elliot Winslow, on board one, and he's white versus Christian Clemens. USCF rating 1997. Elliot has won this tournament about 1,000 times before, and hey, I can actually type in comments. Michael Walder is in the chat. And Elliot just won the, that's right, Elliot just won the senior championship, California senior championship. And for that, he's going to get a cup of coffee from me at some point in the future. I'm not sure when. I'll buy him a cup of coffee for winning the senior. I'll get around to it one of these days. Anyway, so this game, this is, one of these Slav defense, or no, just a Queen's Gambit exchange variation, and White's getting ready for a minority attack with b4, b5, or something like that. And Black has a solid setup, so we'll wait and see how this game develops. And let me see here. Who is on board two? Guy Argo. And Guy Argo is white versus Siddharth Arun. And Guy Argo is a club player. Siddharth Arun is a 2253 player. And sitting solidly on board two. Second-ranked player in the tournament, and Guy Argo is an aggressive player, played in many of these TNMs. He's also a race car driver. So if you're not a professional chess player, you're leading another life somewhere. And it's interesting to know that about the players, I think. And let's see how White sacrificed a pawn in this game. Caro Khan, and here it goes. Oh, this is something that looks like it's fun to trot out. Doesn't look particularly sound, but I would give it a shot myself. I like it. takes knight f3, and white has insufficient compensation for the pawn, I would say, but that's why we play these gambits, is to get the game out of book. And so far black doesn't have anything to worry about or complain about here. And that's just my opinion, but let's see what's going on board 3. So there's a big rating drop from the second board to the third board. This is Christoph Bamboo versus Kevin Reese, and Bamboo is rated 2121, Kevin Reese 1900. And my rating, for anybody who's interested, is at 2355 from a height of 2450 something back in the day. So I can make half-baked comments and sort of remember how chess was played a little bit. Anyway, let's see how this game went. It's a French and bishop d3, and a move that probably shouldn't give black too much trouble. More straightforward is taking on e4, knight f6, and then bishop back f3. I think I've seen that played. It's an old line that to take black out of the book, but and Michael says, yeah, f3 is the second most popular move there. Well, I imagine it is. I mean, if you don't take the pawn back, you don't have probably much else to do. I'm going to defer all the opening stuff to Michael as long as he's here. He knows so much more about the opening than I do. Black plays c5 instead, and that's a natural reaction. I like c4 actually. Although in this position I would play bishop d6 and knight e7 rather than the knight to f6. Is a different kind of setup. Although this should be fine for black. b6 I don't like. I would play just play knight c6 here. And then knight b4 maybe. I don't think b6 really fits in much. And this is approach I would not take with black, although it's not out of the question, leaving white with the hanging pawns. All right, well, white's got something here. Maybe knight d6 and try to pick up the two bishops. Yeah, this is not the way I would particularly play this with black. So, all right. Let's see what's next. Now, Andrew Guo versus Abi Penagalapati, and this game is developing quite conservatively as well. Black must be fine here. Let's see what opening this came out of. Catalan, I guess you would call this some kind of Catalan setup with white. Knight d2, unorthodox. Slow development of the game here. Rook e1. Black is doing quite well here. I wonder why white doesn't just play e4, but in any case, chances are about equal, I would say here. And This is our second Tuesday night marathon live since the lifting of restrictions on the pandemic. And in the room, I'm in the office, Mechanics Institute chess room office. In the rooms around me are, well, in the main playing room, there's about 60 people. And good to see you, Neil Bruce, BC, as well. So this game is developing slowly. And the ratings of the players are, Andrew is 1885 and Pinagalapati is 2078. Black is equalized, but maybe no more than that here. And on board 5, we have Juan Sandejas versus Chelsea Zhao. And Chelsea is an just about 1900 player, and Juan is, I'm pretty sure he's an expert, and has helped us with the DGT technology, and actually did the DGT. He was the master of the DGT boards at the National Open. So a man who wears many hats, like many people around here. They wear many hats. Yes, this was a wing gambit. Let's see how this went. Boing, boing, boing. E6. Sure, why not? I mean, black could also play D5. That's or takes on A3 and then D5. I don't know the theory of the wing gambit. You can go back to F8 too as well. To me, it looks like black's a pawn up, but you know, there's F4 I think is not the right idea. I mean, if I'm white, I would want to just get my pieces out with knight F3 and stuff like that. But H5 is a little bit strange move too, but it tries to anchor the G4 square, but it means black's not going to castle anytime soon. So it looks like I think black's got more useful moves than that. It's an odd one. And white makes the move E5 maybe uncomfortable for black. But still, you know, black's a pawn up. I've gotta like black still, even though white's got some room here. All right, we're gonna move on. This is gonna be, these players are interesting match actually. And then on board 6, this is Adam Mercado versus Joel Karen. And this is in the under 2000 section. I guess the top board in the under 2000 section. And the players are rated, Adam is 1879 and Joel is 1610. And let's go back to the beginning. Center counter with queen D8. And, you know, white, White could develop the bishop to c4 first, maybe, but, and that's a modest move, bishop e2. And white is, black might be a little more ambitious here and play c5, but, and the players are just taking a sort of a, black doesn't have to give up the two bishops here, could play bishop h5. White has a slight plus, and a3 is a little too conservative for my taste, a little too slow, but still white is slightly better. And I'm glad to see that Michael agrees with me about bishop e2 in this game. And let's just see what's going on here. And then Albert Starr versus Luis Uribe, and these players are, this is board 2 in the under 2000 section. And let's see here. Albert always plays the orangutan. I'm going to call it the orangutan. I'm not going to call it any other name. It's going to be the orangutan. Tartakower invented that phrase, the orangutan. Yeah, hi, Alexei. Hey, I'm in control of this thing. I'm going to actually type it. Hi, Alexei. Yes, the Polish opening, but the orangutan sounds so much more fun, Anyway, Tartakower went during the New York 1924 tournament. Went to visit the Bronx Zoo, I guess it was, and while he was at the Bronx Zoo, this has something to do with chess, believe it or not. While he was visiting the Bronx Zoo, I guess he was taken with the orangutans there at the Bronx Zoo, and so when he got back to the tournament, he played b4 and named it the orangutan opening.
Is that the story?
And that's how how it got its name. Yeah, Tartakower named b4. I don't know who he played it against. And actually, Mike, somebody look that up for me. Who did Tartakower play b4 against in New York, 1924? I'd be interested to know. That was the first game with it may not have been the first game where b4 was played, but it was the first game with the orangutan attached to it, b4. And we should all know that. It's very important. Yeah, the b4, 1b4. The orangutan is anyway, so Albert always plays b4. Albert's one of our club players, and he didn't play any online chess, but man, the guy shows up at every tournament at the Mechanics, and we're so proud of him and all the other players that turn out at the club here. Which U.S. women's champion was known for the Polish opening? You mean the orangutan? I don't know. That's a good question. Who would know? So he played, it was against Maroczy. And okay, so okay, so he played it against Maroczy, Tartakower did, and who won the game? The orangutan won, or was it Tartakower, or was it Maroczy? Maroczy was a great player, so was Tartakower. So these are, these were leading grandmasters of the day, not the elite, but oh, the game ended in a draw. Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Let's see how this game goes. And this is, white says, oh, you can take my b4 pawn. I'll take your e5 pawn. And actually, that's actually a good way for black to play sometimes. And we get a kind of a Sicilian, I would say. Reversed, of course. Her photos are on the walls of the Mechanics Institute. Diane Savareed? Was it Diane Savareed? Who, G3. Now that's an ambitious move to put the bishop on the long diagonal. But weakening the light squares and then exchanging like this. Interesting. Albert goes his own way in the openings, and knight b4 with the obvious threat of knight d3, and white allows it, and black gets to take off the orangutan bishop. Nancy Ruse was a U.S. women's champion that played the orangutan. Huh. That's very interesting. And Diane was a king pawn player. I played Diane once. The only time we played it was a draw, I think, way back in the 1970s or 80s. When I played you, Alexei, somewhere around there. Oh, black threatens queen h3 and knight g4. And white just ignores it. Boom. And Albert is suddenly on the defensive here. And black is thinking. This has been a pretty good, well-played game. Yeah. I played a few of the strong women players back in the day. Diane Savareed. I think I beat Ruth Orton was her name at the time, later by Assis Haring. Okay, so this game is going interesting. And let's see what's happening on board 8. And board 8, board 8 is actually board 3 in the under 2000 section, and it's Amitabh Singh versus Nick Casares, 1819 versus 1600. And Nick can play a great game, but is prone to horrendous blunders, as we all are. Let's see. It's a slow Pez. And white's now definitely threatening to take on c6 and e5. And so far, this game is looking reasonable. And maybe, okay. Maybe black could have taken on e3 instead of playing d6, or played knight d4 or something. And very reasonably played game, just by both players. Both players are being very careful here. All right, let's move on to Nikhil Pimpolkar versus James Mahuti. And this is, I think this might be, this is board 4 in the under 2000 section. And these players are rated 1577 and black is 1800. And this looks like another carefully played opening here. A Queen's Gambit. Or Nimzo Indian, I guess. Queen's Gambit, Rogozin. Well, I'd like to see that Cleveland, the Cleveland chess library. We're gonna miss you in the chess cafe for sure, Alexi. And the Mike Walter, who's in the chat here, finished second in the Cal Seniors tournament. And white goes back to f4. That doesn't make any sense. Why not go back to h4? I think this is a mistake, because why not go bishop to f4 in one move? Oh, sorry about that. So white plays bishop e5, takes, and clearly white's not really gotten much here. Although bishop h7 might be a threat, which that puts an end to. Well, maybe white's getting a little something here. Usually Pillsbury would just trade the bishop off at f6 in one go, but maybe this did go kind of well for white. White's playing on all sides of the board. Sort of can't make up his mind whether he wants to play, you know, more consistent look like f5 or rook a e1 or something like that. But black should be all right here, I would say. f5 doesn't look like much after the bishop just goes back. Well, white needs a lot of preparation here to get anything going on the king side. b4 almost looks like a defensive move to stop c5 temporarily. Wow. There's been a lot of commentary here. Okay, Alexi. U.S. Invitationals, there's a blitz tournament where the seniors all get together to play for free. Well, if they're going to be playing with players like Shanklin and Nakamura, then I don't know how well they're going to do. So I'm not sure that that's a good thing. Yeah, I'm not sure about the technical ability for Mike to get on how that works right now. Okay, we have one more game to look at, and this is Tobiah Rex versus Samuel Agdamag. And these players are, well, Sammy is well known to us. Tobiah Rex, I don't know that player. And this is board one in the under. This is board one in the under 1600 section, and Sammy is the top seed in this section, being almost 1600 himself. And we're getting a Botvinnik system with white, and black plays 98, and that's a perfectly reasonable move to play f5. And both players seem to be doing reasonable things. Queen e8, okay. That's interesting. a6 maybe. White could play knight b5 here, a bit annoying. I like black's play. Okay, knight d5, just straight up take it, check, and move into the corner. Black is this has been a well played game here. These two players. d4. If I'm white, I want to take on e5 and then play. If black takes back with the pawn, play bishop c5 or something. I'm not so sure. about this d4, and e4 is the obvious move, and black has a nice passed e pawn now. Now black has a good game here with d5 or h5 and h4. Or I think this kind of took a lot of the pressure off of black. This d4 move. All right, we're going to jump all the way up to board 1. Elliot Winslow versus Christian Clemens. And Elliot, let's see, back here we had a kind of the minority attack was going. Black seems to be doing fine here. Exchanges one set of pieces, and then another set gets exchanged. White has a little pressure on c6. I guess I'd rather be white here with the active rooks. Black's bishop is not doing much. We're in for a defensive game here. Okay. And maybe white should just play bishop takes f6 right away instead of bishop h4. I don't know. Okay, so this game is still and this is board 2 where white sacked a pawn right in the opening. And that Michael made an interesting comment that after d takes e4, white's second most common move is f3. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're not going to take the pawn, then you're going to just turn it into a real gambit with f3. Okay, but of course there's bishop c4 hoping for knight f6 check, and then you can play bishop f7 check and knight e5 check and knight takes g4, or maybe even knight e5 right away. And then if bishop takes d1, bishop takes f7 mate. Black thwarts it all with e6, and white moves the bishop again, and we can see this as a complete failure in the terms of the opening for white, who's now down a pawn. And why black does this instead of just playing knight d7, the other knight to d7. I guess if one player can lose time, then the other can too. So a little bit odd play from white and black here. But again, black's just a pawn ahead, so okay. And down on board 3, we've had some developments here. Okay, so we were here, and black played rook e8, knight d6, rook e6. Somehow, you know, white should be better in this. He's now gaining the 2 bishops. I think that looks reasonable. And now he's going after the rook. Hello, Oli. Rook c6 loses the exchange. Bishop f3. And clearly black is, I'm not sure what black should have done here. Well, he's in trouble because bishop f3 is coming anyway. So this was misguided. This whole idea of black should just take on d6 here, and then play knight e4. White has to go back to bishop to b4 to prevent knight c3, and then black at least hasn't lost something. This actually lost the exchange, and white now forces or tries to force the queen exchange, and black is just losing here, in my humble opinion, being the exchange down. Yeah, that was a misplay on black's part. Gonzalo from all over the world. Uruguay, Montevideo. I'm probably mispronouncing it. And c5 is a very direct move. I mean, it may not. It's probably good enough. Let's see, takes. I suppose black can't take on c5. I don't think so. If knight takes, rook d1, and then rook d7, yeah. Fans from everywhere. Thank you, Alexi. Now, white is probably winning this pretty without too much issue. And on board 4, white played e4. We saw that, and then takes. No. Bishop f6, queen e2. Black is very principally going to double up here. I'm looking at d5 here. So things were pretty wild only for a couple of weeks. d5 doesn't look like it works. Black can take with e pawn, and then if oh, I'm sorry, black can play bishop takes b2. And then if d takes e6, bishop takes c1. The World Cup is going on right now. And I'm not sure about all the upsets. There have been some upsets, but white's going on a bit of a goose chase here with rook g4, or is he? It could be dangerous with the idea of playing d5. Now white has to play actively, because if black can double up on the d pawn and then play something like c5 and maybe get an advantage. g6. All right. Well, a lot's going on here. This is suddenly getting a bit tactical, or could get tactical. Long range, black could get an advantage here by ganging up on the d pawn. All right. We're gonna switch down to this wing gambit that was played earlier with white getting, and black plays the knight to b6. Interesting. I mean, black has gone her own way in this game. And white looks, because black is going to find it difficult to cancel, white's starting to look like getting somewhere here. a6 is going to be met by one of the rooks coming to b1, rook fb1 maybe. Black is starting to feel uncomfortable here. And white is playing, has a very thematic sort of no, I didn't see the queen's sacrifice. Yeah, this is looking a little spotty for black now. Let's take a look at Adam Mercado, and this has been in this maneuvering game here. Kind of unambitious play certainly by white, and black must at least have an equal game after this. 92 move. Okay. That was board 1 in the under 2000, and this is board 2 in the under 2000. And this game has taken a bit of a turn here. Okay, so it went boom, 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 boom. Queen h3, f3, h5, rook f2, and black is turning up the heat by castling on the queen side. Queen b1. There's your mysterious. Oh, to play queen f1 perhaps. Okay. e4 is clearly a bad move because of bishop c5. And what should white have played? White's a little tangled up here. Queen f1 was not necessarily the right move. I would return the queen to b1 maybe or something, but this is loses a pawn. And white's position is totally deteriorating here. White's relying on some tactics, but he's only going to end up a pawn down. Yeah, white sort of just fell apart a little bit there. All right. Let's look at the board. This was a well-played game that we were looking at here. This opening, both players are being kind of careful here. Boom, boom, and white's got to pass a pawn now. Black's knight's a little misplaced over there on a7. Very principled play. Okay, this game has been well played. Yeah, I should click on the link and scroll down to see the queen sack. I think I'm going to do that. As long as I can get back to, as long as I can get back to the Twitch. Astounding, Salinas' astounding win and endgame analysis. Queen g1 check, what a beautiful move. And if knight takes g1, well, he had to play, and then knight takes h2 mate, beautiful. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay. Thank you for sending me that. Chess is, you know, there's always a little twist in these, in any game that you see. And this has been a well-played game. There's some really, there's some nice, nice chess being played here at the Mechanics tonight. Very careful. Both players in all these games are taking it seriously. The time control is a nice slow game in 2 hours. FIDE rated, and yeah, I'm really multitasking tonight, folks. I'm like on the chat. I'm looking at the games. I'm looking at clicking on links people are sending me. I'm talking to my boss, Abel, over there. He's keeping an eye on me, making sure that I'm not messing it up too badly. One thing I can't do is chew gum. My dentist told me not to chew gum at the same time. So. Let's see what else is going on. And then on board 4 of the under 2,000 section, this was another tight game here. Nikhil Pimpokar versus James Mahudi, and Black just plays bishop takes e5. I guess that, I mean, I want to get rid of that knight there too, but White's starting to definitely look a little better here. E4 takes the bull by the horns, but maybe it was not good. Queen b6 is a nice move. And yeah, maybe bishop h7 and bishop f5. That would be kind of a sort of normal quote unquote move. I'm not sure e4 is the right idea here. And Black takes on e4. Okay. Knight takes e4 and then go into d6 or to c5. This is looking good for White suddenly again. Okay. Chiron is not playing. In fact, I heard Chiron has moved to, where did Chiron move to? I think he's already left San Francisco. All right, this is board 1 in the under 1600 section, and it was another well-played game here, although Black really started to, this is a good move to blockade at e3 with the, but Black is definitely doing good here. I'm not sure about rook e8. Black needs to, well, it could try h5 and h4. Targeting d4. Oh, White sacks a piece for nothing. Oh, this is no good. Pawn e3 is crushing here for Black. Yeah, this is a mistake. Knight takes f5 is a move played when out of desperation, where White didn't really need to be desperate here. Unfortunate. And g4 is not good enough. Black has just an absolute crushing move here with pawn to e3. Okay. All right, we're going to spring back up to board 1, where international master Elliot Winslow, this had already all occurred, is trying to squeeze this position out against Christian Clemens. And this, to me, I mean, both players have like an hour and a half left. And this is, I don't think Elliot can claim much of an advantage here. White's nominally better. Yeah, Chiron will become an international. He's a very strong player, Chiron Griffith. And we were lucky to have him at the club for a few years. But I think he's moved on, or is moving on. Yeah, I think Chiron has moved to the East Coast, or is in the process of moving. And I said the East Coast, but I'm not sure about that actually. So I know it's out of state. So let's move on to board 2, where there was some hesitant play here. Like, okay, white moves his bishop from e3 to g5, and black backtracks with his bishop to e7, and white throws caution to the winds, which he probably has to do at this point. And so you get the feeling that black should be doing okay, but maybe he's not. Like, he had a chance here. White moved his bishop again to g5, and black should just play knight d7 here. Why he goes back with the bishop is a bit beyond me. And now it looks like white has a little something here. I mean, maybe not that much, but, you know, because after all, a pawn is a pawn. Okay. On board 3, white's exchange advantage is now a piece advantage. How did that happen? Let's see. He's up the exchange, and then he decides to push his pawn, and black makes that's got to be a mistake, of course, because there's no way to break this pin. White threatens just to pile up, and this is hopeless. But I think there was no defense here to taking on c5 and playing mate, or playing rook d5 or something like that. And this is lost, of course, but requires some technique on the part. And this game was getting kind of interesting. After rook g4, black played g6, and white played bishop c3. That I'm trying to figure out why that's being played here. I mean, it could be that white's just kind of running out of ideas here. If white had played h4, then black plays h5, that might have been, you know, and then the rook would go back to f4 or something like that. But I'm not sure what bishop c3 accomplishes. I think the strong players will, we're actually home growing them here in the mechanics as well. Nicholas Wang and some other people. And speaking of which, Chelsea Zhao is also, and this got interesting. Knight a3, bishop d7, h3. Now, is that the right move? I don't know. Because it looks like, you know, knight b5, maybe white could even think of playing rook fb1 here. It's possible, with the idea of playing knight b5 then. h3, knight h6. Bishop b5. Looks like white's losing the thread here a little bit. I'm going to have to answer the door. I'll be right back. Okay. Knight f5, king h2, and now black can play h4 and clamp the, or doesn't have to right now, but I think black's been given a little bit of a reprieve here. And you know, actually, if black plays h4 and then castles on the king side, there's almost no way that white can break through over there. And I'm starting to, this looks like it's starting to swing black's way again. Couple of little, yeah, I have to go and answer the door. The door is locked. Otherwise, people would be walking in and interrupting me constantly. Okay. All right. Let's move on here. And this is board, I think this is this board 1 in the under 2000 section? Yes. And this has been, we've seen a little unsteady play here from the players. Black playing a little bit, definitely bishop d2. I mean, you cannot give white too, black is equalizing easily here. Yeah, let's move on then quickly to board 2 in the under 2000 section, where Albert was, okay, played knight d3. Black defended the bishop with knight d7. Because I guess if he had taken on c3, white was going to take on c5, which he did anyway. And then white plays knight d5. And, you know, what can I say? White's got some cheapo chances based on, you know, just knight at d5. And but black has a pawn ahead. Even rook d5 looks quite strong here. Sacking the exchange and getting another pawn for it. And then the passed pawn on d3. Black's in the driver's seat, but the game is still going on. And on board 3 in the under 2000 section, white is okay. So black seems to have gotten the initiative on the queen side because white is pouring it on the king side. Oh, knight h4. All right, white's going for it, folks. This is an interesting plan. Just playing on the king side. I like this. He's abandoning the queen side to play for the attack here. Nice. Way to go. All right, interesting chess being played here on board 3 in the under 2000 section. All right, and on board 4 in the under 2000 section, we had this. We looked at this, and black did take there, and now black is hyper vigilant, defending against defending the f7 square, and also getting the rook away from the knight. And king h1 is another good, interesting prophylactic idea, but maybe too slow. Knight c5, maybe, sort of clamping down. Yeah, but king h1 makes sense. f6, black says, I don't want to just wait for the axe to fall. f6 is an interesting move. I like it too. Takes. And black is, this is the fight for the initiative. I like the way black's playing this. It's hard to see what white is going to do here. Knight c5 looks like it's probably the right move here. Although black should be fine after bishop d5 or something like that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the top board in the under 1600 section, and white mistakenly sacked a piece with knight f5. Black took and played g4, and black plays knight h4, which is careful, but clearly e3 just wins on the spot. I mean, I see no reason not to just play that and wins. And it's just, there's no reason. Instead, knight h4. And this is good enough, too. The bishop is out of play there, but not for long. And black can play bishop f2 or takes on g5. And this is good. This is black is rolling to victory here. All right. He plays bishop f2. All right, let's go back up to board 1, where Winslow is trying to squeeze water from a stone with knight a4 and microscopic advantage in the endgame here versus Christian Clemens. At least I think it's microscopic. I mean, it could be more than microscopic. It seems microscopic, but perhaps a little bit more than microscopic. Okay. White for choice there a little bit. And this game, so this is interesting. After bishop g6, knight e5, black snatches another pawn with bishop takes c2. And if this works, this is you know, really showing white's strategy up here. This is 2 pawns, folks. Queen takes c2, queen takes d4 check is 3 pawns for black. So what, queen d2? White has all his pieces developed, but no concrete threats. So it's a fun game, though. Queen takes c2, queen d4 check, king moves, queen takes e5. White's losing a lot of pawns. And this is our board 3, which is just turning into, you know, an eventual white win. I don't think black has time to exchange all the pawns. And on board 4, black is trying to gang up on the d pawn and then play c5 or something like that. And this complex game here, it's been my experience that black can usually castle at some point, or play king f8 and g6 and king g7. I don't see how black can get away without playing pawn to g6 and castling, or playing pawn to g6 and king f8, g7. And black is playing without the rook at h8, so some point has to bring that in. Okay. And this is board 1 of the under 2000 section of the and white is, the players are just kind of moving around, and white still has this 2 bishop advantage, and black needs to maybe strike in the center at some point with e5 or c5. The way the pieces are just jumping around the board is making me kind of dizzy. And on board 2, black plays d3 instead of and white plays rook d2. And this is going all black's way at this point. Although the position is still pretty tricky. And you are watching live coverage of the Tuesday night marathon, live from downtown San Francisco. And black is still thinking after f4. You know, it does look like there's a lot of white pieces pointing at the black king. Yeah, I'm forgetting which position was making me dizzy. Yeah, the game. Some of the games seem to be. Actually, that game had been going on for a while. It's just the pieces kept flying all over the board. And white did play knight c5 and bishop d5 and now rook a1. So I mean, black has to be careful about some tactical shots here. And white's queen is itching to get to g6 and then h7 or something. So, no, what's wrong with rook a e8? Black needs to bring that rook into the game. Now maybe then rook e8, knight, queen f5 or something. It's tricky. It's a tricky position. White's knight at c5 is good. Black needs to bring his queen back to c7 too at some point, I would say, quickly. Rook a e8 and queen c7 if I'm black. Maybe not in that order. All right. I'm going to switch to board 1 in the under 16. Yeah, rook e, yeah, that's 2. Rook e8, queen g3. And this game is now turning into, should be an easy win for black, who's a rook ahead now at this point. And they got there this way. White gives up the rook, but I guess there was nothing much else. And now rook g5, queen h6, or rook g5, queen f6. White is on the brink of disaster. And back up to the board 1, where international master Elliot Winslow is trying to draw blood from the stone, as I said, with knight a4 here. Definitely a more comfortable position to play for white, but with pressure down the c file and the c6 pawn. Let's see here. Nothing has changed though. And here also, okay, so after queen takes c2, or rather after bishop takes c2, shot from the blue, bolt from the blue, white took on c2, queen d4, interposed the queen, and then backed up with the bishop. And this is just a complete, as far as I'm concerned, that's a failure. Bishop, queen c5 now exchanges queens, and the 3 pawns ahead is white's. This has been a disaster for white. White's play did not hang together here, and I guess the culprit, I think, if we go back here. first of all, bishop g5 doesn't make any sense to me because he's already, although it makes some sense. And black, and I guess knight e5 is just bad because of bishop c2 winning yet another pawn. And white goes 3 pawns down here. And bishop f4 just allows the queens to get exchanged. Because of bishop e3, queen takes c4. Okay, so that game looks like it's basically over. And on board, this game has been over for a while too, with white a piece ahead here. And just needing to sort of consolidate it. Now knight b5, knight c4, king. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a hassle for white to win this, but it should be a win. And on board 4, black is, white is not finding the antidote to this. I think this is, starting to turn critical here with queen b6 coming up maybe, and then c5 or e5 or something. I'm definitely preferring black here, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at that. Okay, so if bishop e3, queen c4, g5, but I mean, black could even castle there or something. Okay, maybe castling is not the right move, but I mean, black could play knight d7 or something. After takes on f6, knight takes f6, then black's 4 pawns ahead. Yeah. 4 pawns ahead. All right. And white's starting to not, when is white going to do something? This knight at a3 is looking out of the game now, and a little bit hesitant play, I think, from white's point of view. This h3, king h2 stuff didn't help white either. Starting to sort of tip a little bit black's way here, I think. And this is the game where the pieces are just all moving around to different squares. White still has the 2 bishops, but black's game is quite free here. And on black has to be careful here. I mean, I think rook d5 would be a kind of a simple way to sort of win another pawn and sort of dominate the position a little bit. Although, it's not clear what white's going to do here in any case. Yeah, knight d5 in that other position. Okay. Keeping the piece. Ooh. Okay, so black played queen e7. And instead of opening the game up by taking on e5, okay, so the knight's hanging at h4. But still f takes e5 could be considered. Instead, f5 Doesn't that allow queen takes h4? I mean, that would have to be calculated. F takes g6, F takes g6, rook f7 check, king g8, and then what? Queen f2, threatening rook takes g6 check. Black could play queen takes g3, and if queen takes g3, king takes f7, with 2 rooks and a knight for a queen. Well, I'm just throwing that out as a possibility. Queen h4 takes on g6. Black retakes, and then rook f7 check, king g8. Rook g6 check, king takes f7. Doesn't seem to get anywhere. So queen f2. Oh, queen takes g3 is not good because of rook check, king g7, queen f6, and mates. My tired brain. So if queen h4, fg6, fg6, rook f7, king h8, maybe? Still queen f2. Or rook check and then queen f2. Taking on h4 might be too risky, but then white's going to take on g6. So what? And if black plays g5, then f6. That might be the best possibility, but oh. So g5, f6, queen e6. Yeah, I don't think, I think black, there's too many pieces aiming at black's king here for black to survive this. Queen h4 just seems to lose to taking on g6, followed by rook checking and then queen f2. You can't even give up the queen with queen g3 because of checking and then the queen comes down. So, I don't know. We'll come back to this. We'll look at, oh, this ended in mate. Oh, it's ending in a knight fork. Nice move. Rook takes f8 check, knight g7 check, and knight takes b6, and white's going to be the exchange up. How did this go? He played rook a e8, and white played rook e5. So clearly white's developing some strong pressure here, and black thought that he was getting somewhere with knight g4, but white throws out queen f8. Let's see. Yeah, queen f8, rook f8, takes, and now knight g7 check. And what's going on here? King f7. King f7, rook f5 check, and knight takes b6 check. Okay. And if king g8, king g8, knight takes b6, knight e4. Well, king g8. Rook e8, king f7. What am I missing here, folks? I feel like I'm missing. I feel like I'm missing something. I'm not sure. I mean, is this really working out for white here? Queen f8. It looks pretty, but is there? What's the? Where's the? Let's see. King takes f8, knight d7. What happens if king f7? I mean, king g8. King f7, rook f5 check. And then knight takes b6 and white's exchange ahead. But what about king g8? Yeah. Now knight takes b6, knight takes e5. I don't think this is worked out. He missed it. Okay, so back here, after king g8, white should have played rook f5, but then queen d8. It looks to me like this combination may not have actually have won. This is remarkable. So what are you saying, Mike? That back here, well, okay, so after this petit combination, rook f5 doesn't work, right? Queen d8. And if rook e8 check, king f7, rook f8, king e7. Okay, so before this, before queen f8 check? Yeah, maybe takes on e8 instead of rook e5. Oh, not queen f8, but rook e8. But then knight takes f2 is knight takes f2. With check. I take your queen with check. What about right here? Is there a move here? So not rook e5. So after rook e8, rook takes e8, or rook takes e8, rook takes e8, and then queen g3. That does look really strong. Although I suppose the black rook could go back to f8, but then queen g6 or something like that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. White's got the pressure, but it looks like this little combination may not have actually been the thing, because in our game, we're at this position, and certainly white doesn't have anything here. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. Sometimes these combinations they don't do what they're supposed to do. And finally, before I take a little break here, we'll look at this game, and clearly black is winning this, being that he's up an entire rook. And I'll leave you folks for about 5-10 minutes with a peek at board 1, where Elliot Winslow is trying to grind out this position against expert Christian Clemens. International master Elliot Winslow is trying to grind this out against Christian Clemens. And I will be back in about 5 or 10. Okay. And okay, so did he miss queen a6? Let's see. Instead of knight a4, is this the point where he was supposed to play queen a6? Right here, maybe queen a6. Possibly. But I'll tell you, and this is a, you know, white's definitely better, but it's a long game going. And I'll be back.
Hey everyone, thought I would come in and fill the void a little bit. I see Mike Walder and Alexi are in the chat. Hey there. So yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for watching the TNM. We actually got it started off pretty well, all things considering, because usually here, as a lot of players know, and certainly Mike knows, that first round of the TNM is usually pretty tough because, you know, we have on-site registrations and you know, a lot of updates, so it gets pretty hectic. But it wasn't that hectic tonight. It was actually pretty good. Almost everyone registered in advance, so we got it going. I guess the only drama is I had to like go run and move my car because the way it works is the parking garage where I park closes at 8, so I have to like run before 8 and move the car. And actually, I'm able to park in the front of the building, so that's good. But anyway, got about 70 players, and we got some good games. And no dry. We had a couple of issues in the room, just game issues, but easily resolved. Yeah, Elliot's playing Christian right now. There's a draw on board too. And yeah, it's nice because we got the 10 DGT board set up, and we had like 3 players take buys in the top section today. So we were able to have a lot of players in the under 2000 occupy the DGT, and then we did the top board in the under 1600, which is good. The only thing that's bad. Oh yeah, let me. I have the link to where you can watch the games. Let me pull that up here. No, that's not it. Let's see. Yeah, the thing I kind of feel bad about is that inside the room we usually put up the games from Follow Chess, but because it's the first round, we can't turn. Follow Chess doesn't turn it around that fast because we just put the pairings up, you know, 15 minutes before the round. But here's the link if you want to follow all the games. There it is right there. So now you can like click to the different games and follow everything there. Let me check out some of the other games because I was this game between 2 top kids, Andrew Gould playing white against Abi Panagalapati. And Abi is one of the organizers from the San Jose Chess Club. And they just did a big event last month. They had almost like 100 players, I think, in Milpitas. I played a few rounds of that event too. So, and they're doing another event in a couple of weeks. So, you want to get some FIDE rated action again in Milpitas. It's like a 2-day, 5-round, I believe, event. I'm actually going to be the tournament director there. So, sort of putting a plug for them and for all of us. Yeah, an all-star TD. I don't know about that. Oh, I'm excited to meet him or her, whoever it is. Judith's in Hungary. Oh, I gotta let Paul in. And one of the cool things tonight is we have our Skittles room open. So a lot of people are occupying over their games, which is kind of nice to see. You know, it's nice to see the tournament room have life, but it's kind of a different thing to see the Skittles room have life. It's kind of fun to see the analysis going on over there. Came in early and cleaned it up and moved all the boxes and did all that stuff.
Great.
Yeah, it looks good, huh? I was proud of it.
There's nobody playing.
And there was nobody playing it. There's a lot of games going on. So, all right. I think all I did was tie. I didn't even talk about chess, I don't think. Probably better.
No, it's fine, no.
Well, since I'm here, I'm going to grab some peanuts that Paul gave me weeks ago. I'm still working down. And Paul will be back in a minute or two. But yeah, it's good to say hey. I'm glad everything has been working so far. And yeah, hopefully by next week we'll have it on Follow Chess so we can like follow all the games. But I put the link so that anyone watching the Twitch can check out the games. Or if Paul's looking at the wrong games, then you can look at the right games yourself. So, all right, everyone, go back out there, and Paul will be here shortly.
All right, folks. And we'll take a look at, we'll bring it back up to Elliot's game here. International Elliot Winslow, the highest ranked player in this tournament. Now that Kasparov declined to play, I'm expecting a phone call from him any second now. Sorry, Gary, I can't talk to you right now. I've got Carlson on the other line, hanging up on the other line too. So you guys are just going to have to wait. You guys are just going to have to wait because we have the Tuesday night marathon going here. And nothing is more important than our players. Yeah, Aronian will also have to take his place. That's right. And again, you know, White's just microscopically better, maybe even a little bit more than microscopically better. But he's got some work cut out for him. And that's board one in the Tuesday night marathon. 7 rounds. And White resigned after Queen C5 in this game. Well, this has gotten kind of interesting here. Well, I think the road to the victory is pretty obvious here. White will I guess white will just put black in Zhuang and then move the king up the board and infiltrate on the king side and sacrifice his bishop for the a pawn if necessary. But that looks pretty straightforward. Okay. White seems to have this one. Bye, Alexei. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you, and have a nice trip, and we'll see you when you get back at the Chess Cafe, or else here during the Tuesday night marathon. And white, you know, I do not like this c5. What happens on c5 here? If d takes c5, rook takes d2, wins on the spot. d5, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, e takes d5. Now I see how black could maybe c takes d5, rook d5, rook d5, and rook e8 check, and queen h8 mate. Let's go back to that game that oh, so there's a little issue here. So if king f5, king d3, king g6, king e3, king h6, king f3, king g5, king e3, h6, f3, h7, f2, h8, queen. Could get a little risky. I guess white can just play bishop g7 here, or bishop e5 or something, and then king b3, then king f5. Yeah, black's going to lose that way too. Yeah, h8, bishop a. Okay. Oh, black tries b5 instead. That looks good too. Perhaps trying to play b4 even. White's position looks a little, I think it's a different Guo. It is. It's definitely a different guy. This is Andrew Guo. He's a 1900 player. He's a talented kid, but he's not. It's not the same guy. And this game has taken an interesting turn. Okay, so white had enough. He decided to play c4, boom, boom, and then take this way, and I guess bishop b5 wouldn't have worked, probably because of knight d6 check, queen d6, and then queen b5. I'm not sure. But he plays knight c4, she does, rather, and black's a pawn up, but there's technical problems, obviously. I'm definitely going to give the edge to black. But this is not going. It's still not easy. Yeah, in the National Open, there's an Andrew. I think it was Andrew Go who uh, namesake. That's Arthur Guo. Board one in the under 2000 section. The players are playing extremely carefully, but black is again still got and yes, if rook c2 and then bishop f3 maybe. Yeah, I don't see this pawn duo doing much here. Black has two passed pawns on the queen side, as well as an extra pawn. This game, you know, black is equal, but still nothing has been happening much in that game. And this is Starr Uribe. Wow. White has definitely gotten some play here, although both players have to be very careful here. Let's see how this happened. We saw this, and black played knight b3, forking the rooks, but white had rook c7 check, and then rook d3, so that didn't seem to work out very well for black. He took on a4, white took on f7. Both kings are very insecure here. Well, I mean, that's one way of dealing with the threat of queen b5, I suppose. Black centralizes, white goes back in here. c8, queen b1 threatens the knight at b3. Black checks, king must come up to h3. And now white threatens queen d6 check as well as queen takes d2. Well, black can trade and take on b5, and then white takes on g7, and we get a race that white looks pretty well prepared in that position. And black have played rook c2, yes. But then rook f8 check. Almost works. Good try. Maybe g5 and then queen b3. Well, this is some okay. We're getting a crazy race here after queen takes b4, knight takes b4, knight takes b5, rook takes g7, and then maybe pawn a5. I seriously don't know what's happening in that position. Okay. Oh, this game ended in checkmate. No. Well, we saw white with a vicious attack here. All of black's pieces were sort of on the queen side, while white just played this really nice. And then look at that move. Threatens rook takes g5. Stunning move. I think black is, yeah, here we go. Does black have a defense here? Rook g8, rook h5. Doesn't look like it. threatens, and if rook g8, queen h5 check, that's actually kind of pretty. Played rook h8 instead, queen g7 check. This was a really nice sequence, by the way, everybody back here. Very well played by white, kind of unexpected. Okay, so starting here, you know, I mean, it's not clear how to play this position. I would say, I mean, is d4 or something like that. But white plays very powerfully here. There's knight h4. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But this was I really like the way white just poured the pieces over to the king's side and just won with a nice sacrifice. And black had no defense. Take a quick look at this game and this odd game here with that looks rather even to me now. You know, somebody could get into trouble, of course, in some way here. And white king has a lot more freedom than black's, but black could offer the exchange of bishops, and white wouldn't be able to take it. So black could play something like bishop d7 or king e7 and bishop d7 and force the bishop off the diagonal. Tough little position there. And finally, this game must be close to over here. Wow. Oh no. How did black get into this? Black was totally winning. And now rook e3 check. King f6. Queen c6 check. This was incredible turnaround here. I mean, even queen c, even f7 here? No, f7 is not going to work. This is amazing. I mean, black was just murdering white here. Excuse me. I mean, you're a rook up here. White is going for all that he can. And this this does threaten. All right, so if I'm black, let's get rid of some of these pieces. How about queen takes g3 check, king takes g3, e2. Now queen b7 check, king takes f6, queen c6 check, rook e6, and followed by queen with check. I mean, that just wins on the spot. So I would play queen g3 check, I think, here. King g3 and then e2. Queen b7, king f6, queen c6, rook e6, and then queen with check. So that's a win. I think that's one win. I see rook h8, queen check, king e6. This is now risky as all hell. As all heck. It's white's move, and he's thinking about rook e3 check here. I have a feeling white's close to a draw by perpetual check, and black has really kind of messed this up, I think. But okay, we'll come back to this. Incredible turnaround. I mean, unbelievable. Back to board one, where Elliot Winslow. White's starting to get something here. King g7, and then what? I'm not sure. And on board 2, we know what happened in that game. Board 3, okay, this is not going well for black. This game's been lost. Okay, so let's see what winning method he did choose. Yeah, he just tempoed him out and then came in with the king. And black is far too late, obviously. Okay. This game is over, and this is the Guo versus Penagolapati game. Black now threatens c5 with a vengeance, I think. Tough little game for black, though. I mean, for white. And this is Sandejas versus Chelsea Zhao, with white still hanging on here. Not easy. That pawn on d6 is pretty strong. If the knight can come in and get activated, this could be tough for black. Still black got to be black for choice, but we'll see what happens. And finally, we're getting a central strike here. This game is barely out of the opening here. This has somehow developed into an odd situation. So the queens did come off, and black didn't take on b5, but instead defended the pawn at g7, but only temporarily. Rook c4, interesting. Rook g7 threatens the knight, which can, of course, give itself up, and it does. But white can win a piece now with rook g8 check. King c7, knight d5 check. But he doesn't do it. He takes there instead. White missed a chance to win a piece. Black's king is awfully far away. I'm not really sure what should be happening here. The ratings of the players, like for this game, okay, so this is actually this is a game. Albert Starr is 1609 and Uribe is 1856. So we're seeing some lower rated players, which means the games are, to me, are just as interesting. Their swings sometimes are larger, and the mistakes might be more severe. I mean, here, for example, I mean, if white plays h6 and black plays rook h7, you know, rook g8 and rook g7 checks. So is that what's going to happen in this game? You know, sometimes you get a, in fact, this looks like it almost, what's black going to do here after h6? It almost looks like a mistake, rook e7. I think black needed to play a6 and get the king out or something, or try to. There's been some strange swings here. All right, and this game we ended in a checkmate, and this game This game is still up in the air. This is not clear to me at all what's going on here. I would say black is maybe could be slightly better here with the outside pass. White's trying to get white to play e6 or trade bishops. Yeah, bishop f3. I mean, the game looks like it's equal. And Sammy got mated. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
And from a winning position in all kinds of ways.
I had to confirm that actually.
He was winning the whole game. It was really not a sad result.
Can I enter like just results
Yeah.
real quick? Yeah, I was like surprised. I saw that and I'm like, did he write it wrong?
I was wondering if you can set the game score by going to the pieces and putting the kings in the right position. Would
Yes.
that do it?
It's even when we remind people, and we used to have these cards that would teach them how to do it. They still never do it.
But I mean, could you do it now?
No, because what they do is they set the board back up to the starting position.
Okay. All right.
That's what like throws it off.
I see.
So
People are mistaking Andrew Guo for Arthur Guo.
yeah, that would be a big deal if he came down to the TNM and played.
I think that and why does black have so much time? That could be because he's playing too quickly.
Let's see, just entering some results. Oops.
And Abel is entering results into the DGT. He only used 8 seconds. No wonder he lost.
Yeah, that's almost surprising.
Is that right? Is that how much time he used? Oh my gosh. I think you're right.
All right, that's it.
He is that true? Sammy used only 8 seconds?
I can actually look at the clock just to confirm it.
That's unbelievable. I mean, yeah. If that's true, I mean, there is a 5-second delay, so he probably used a little bit more time than that. Yeah, there's a delay. We're going to get confirmation of that, but it looks like that is actually what happened. He used only 8 seconds. Yeah, you will make mistakes if you try to play.
Turn the clock off so I can. They shut the clock.
Oh, they shut the clock off. Well, it said 1:19:52. So.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Actually, because
we have players that move very quickly at the Mechanics Institute.
the delay. They play on the.
Yeah, there's a delay. Right. But yeah, clearly black played too quickly. He shouldn't have lost this game. Back up to board 1, where Elliot Winslow is grinding it out versus Christian Clemens. Yeah. I mean, here the tension is getting to me. Forget about the players themselves. I mean, I would be nervous that I would be, overlooking something here. White's developing a bit of a bind here. Okay, let's move on. We know that on this this happened in this game, board 2, board 3. This game is clearly over. In fact, black resigned. And I was wondering about queen c5. I just had something pop up in front of my DGT board. A tense game here. And can black play bishop f8? And then, well, then Queen e5, bishop g7, queen c5. The commentators would be happy with that result. Is there a way to view these games by myself? Yeah, I think that we put, if I'm not mistaken, I think we put in the chat the, that actually, thought we were on follow chess. Yeah, here we are. It's up here. I'm gonna see if I can copy paste this. I don't know how to do that. If you go back in the chat, you'll see that there is on follow chess, there is a bishop f8, queen e5, c5, but then d5 threatens queen g7 mate. So Sam had 119.52. Oh, I see. No, well, okay, right. Yeah, bishop f8, queen e5, c5, queen d5 threatens queen g7. Probably gonna win with that. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Wow, look at this move, e6. What a shot. Okay, so king g1, rook d3. It looks like the black pieces are stepping on each other's toes, but black seems to want to get this resolved. b5. Of course, king f2. Bishop d1, king e1, bishop a4. And white's desperate here. He plays bishop knight c4. All right, so if b takes c4, rook a4.
Starr.
Yeah, wow, Juan just found a beautiful move.
He's a good player.
Oh, he is a good player. I think he did anyway. We're recording more results here. We're taking a commercial break.
Yeah, for our sponsors. And
Yeah. We like peanuts. That's all we're going to say. Are we finished here?
Yo, yeah. For our sponsors, Mike Walder and Alexi Root.
All right, so after knight c4, king c6. And then white played e6. Holy moly. So f takes e6, knight e5 check wins. It looks like king c6 was a mistake. What should black have done? Bishop to b3, knight b6, and then rook takes a6. I mean, maybe black should play king e6 here or something. Or maybe black should play f6 and just try to start chewing up the pawns or something. I don't know. It's a position with a lot of danger, and this knight is just an insane knight here. Look at this e6 move. Brilliant. If pawn takes c4, pawn takes f7, and black can't get back. Well, amazing. Okay, I'm going to move on, I suppose, to this game. This game has really been going slowly. But black is definitely looking good in this position. So white seemed to be playing without a plan here. And knight h3, king g2. Okay, black didn't want to give up the knight for a couple of pawns. Now he plays e5, and this is looking great for black, obviously. Look at this. Pouring the pieces in, and this is just good for black, I think. Knight d2 is at least equal, of course. And maybe knight takes g3. If he's getting impatient, maybe not. Black's played a good game, knight c5. The game is still in an equal territory here. And white won this. Amazing. This was no defense after h6. And he just, amazing. Albert pulled one out of the hat there. Oh, this has gone into a king and pawn ending. Unbelievable. Oh. How can this be good for white? Anybody want to help me out on this? All right, so let's say black takes on b4, white, I guess, takes with the pawn, king e5, king b5, and then does black switch directions with king d4? No, probably. This is going to give me a headache here. It's going to be close. All right, pawn takes b4, pawn takes b4, king takes e5, king b5. Let's say he goes king e4, king b6. Well, white's probably king b7, king g2. I think white's queening well before black here. So black needs to find a little more subtle play, I think. C takes b4, a b4, king e5, king b5, maybe king d4. I don't see why that would make any difference. King b6, king c4, king. Oh, he takes on e5 first, and that sort of makes sense. He can box white. Well, takes on c5. Takes king c5. Is white winning here? Takes, king e4, king b6, king f3, king b7, white, king h2, a4, king g3, a5, white queens, white wins. I would have thought this endgame would be good for black, but that's very superficial of me. It looks like this is looking good for white. Okay. Tragedy on board 10. Let's go back up to board 1. And okay, so black trades his bishop for the knight. And I assume white takes with the knight. Taking with the pawn doesn't look like it would lead to much of anything. I think this, with careful defense, black should be okay here, I think. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for hanging with me this evening. Let's see. Oh, yeah, those boards are all done. This game is very sharp. Black is trying to dislodge the rook from d8 so that white can play d takes e5, and it looks like it might be a very good move. Of course, rook d4 here. And if bishop takes d8, rook takes d2. So maybe this just doesn't work. And after this e5 move, sorry, after this e5 move, maybe white could have played rook takes e5, bishop e5, queen takes e5, with some threats on the long diagonal and a pawn for the piece. I mean, for the exchange. All right. Just a thought. And black, after e6, black plays f6, the amazing f6. And now look at this. White has 2 pawns on the 6th rank. Can Juan queen one of them? The obvious e7 is met by king d7, I suppose. And then knight b6 check, king e8. My gosh. Oh, this is really something else. All right, king g7 is absolutely forced here. Then knight b6 check, king e8 is absolutely forced. And then if knight a4, ba4, rook a4, rook d6, and black is good. Does white have anything here? Rook e2, threatening d7 check. Is that the move? Rook e2. Rook d6. Oh, rook e2, rook d6. Whew. Is white running out of steam here? We all thought e6 was such a shot, but knight a4, this is not working for white. Unless there's something I'm missing here. I think black is now winning. Rook d2? Ooh, rook d2. Rook d2, rook takes d2, king d2. Incredible, rook d2, he found it. Then, and a rook e3 check. Black has no time after king f trades. This is a win for white now, I think. There's no way to make a pass pawn on the king side. That's black's problem. If black could make a pass pawn on the king side, he'd be winning. This has really been a nice game by Juan. Found some beautiful moves here. Really found some nice moves. This is now. This should now be an easy win. Amazing. Okay, moving on here. This game, which has been developing, black is of course fine, but still, I want to sacrifice something on f4. Maybe he can't, maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. Some nice finishes, some nice checkmates or finishes in this game. And what happened here? Okay, so after king d3, king e6, king c4, he took a black played back. What? All right. Black is just losing. I think black was lost anyway. Some crazy games here, folks. And Elliot is taking it easy. I'm going to have some peanuts here for the peanut gallery.
Speaking of which,
I'm passing them on. Watch the tops off.
Yeah.
All right. So it's still a battle on board one. No real variations to look at. Just sort of, you know, white's pieces are better, but black is slowly starting to come unraveled.
Austin Mize in the chat too. Arthur Braden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some.
Hey everyone.
Yeah. Hi all. Exclam. I like doing a lot of exclams.
How you doing? How you like controlling the dialogue?
It's okay. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. You like the power?
I like the power. I'm power mad here. Yeah. So what games am I still following here?
Thank you.
The Juan Sandejas. Oh, this game is just. Look at this. Black cannot. This is the power of or a good example of how 3 pawns can hold 4 on the king side here. White just doesn't have to do anything. Black cannot make a pass pawn on the king side. Really nice game by Juan Sandejas has found some brilliant moves in this game. And, you know, I mean, white's in a little bit of a pickle here to do something, but something like queen g4 or something and should be fine here. I think all these other games are done. Yep. No, this game is still going on. But now black is lost. I mean, white plays a4, a5, a6. And if we back up a little bit to here, sorry folks, my clumsiness. If we back up white exchanges bishops, which surprises me here, and then heads over to the queen side. So maybe black has to play king c6 instead of king e6. And if king c4, b5, maybe that's the secret here. Although white could maybe give up the pawn anyway by playing e6. This is very counterintuitive somehow. You would think that black would be better here, but in fact black is in trouble. And certainly this looks lost. If takes king c5, white's much faster, much faster. And we get this, and black is just losing, I think. Back up to board one. And I think white doesn't have that much here.
Mr. Sandejas.
We are uploading results here. And Juan played a very nice game. Juan Sandejas. Now, you know, if white's queen could sneak over to the back rank somehow. So what's the point? Is he going to play knight d3 and knight e5 maybe? Now, black played h5 here, but if I'm black, I want to think about knight c7 and knight e6 maybe, and challenge this knight at c5 and get rid of this log jam, or even rook b8 maybe. h5 doesn't look like the right time for that. Black has other fish to fry here. That's board one, and on board four, we have this game. e5 was played, bishop a5, rook d4, yeah. I have to go get the door again.
I could have just kept it in my wallet, though.
So bishop a5 looks like it was a mistake. And I think I would have preferred to just play rook takes e5 here. Oh, well, then bishop f8 snags the queen. e5 was a nice interference move. So white plays bishop a5 and now rook d4, and black has won a pawn. Rook d3. Black is ready to play queen d7. Why didn't he play queen d7 right away? I don't know. Well, black has won a pawn here, so. And I don't see anything completely clear for white, so we're going to move on. And this game was black resigned. And oh no. Well, wait a minute now. I think we're having one of those, what do I call them? DGT strangenesses here. Rook e2, rook e7, rook e7, and obviously black didn't play rook e8, folks. Rook takes e8. Something is wrong here in DGT lands. Mike, good to see you again. Let's see, all these games were all these games are over. Black's move. We're going to get one of those funny things where, let's say black plays h5. White can stalemate black with king b6, not really stalemate. Then g5, hg5, h4, g6, h6, g3, g7, g2, and g8 mate. So this is not good. Okay. This was a disastrous turn of events here for black. And back up to board one. And like I said, black needs to think about this, you know, let's play rook b8 or something like that and get rid of this rook on the 8th rank. h5 was the wrong idea. Black needs to do something about these strong white pieces at c5 and a8. I don't see anything wrong with starting with rook b8 and getting the rook off the row. I mean, then rook a6 maybe, but still black should do something like that. The knight c7, just, you know, repel these pieces. Try to play knight e6 and trade the knight at c5. You don't want pieces hanging out in your living room. You know, you've got to get rid of them. And white offers the exchange of rooks Um, and so obviously it's black for choice, being a pawn ahead. Got a knock on the door.
This is another James Mahudi. Board 9.
Yeah, that game
Nick
was.
Hill.
Mm-hmm. Black resigned.
Is that-
And so, just to cement that, this game, black resigned here after h4. And back up to Elliott's game. He did play rook b8. I would have preferred that a move earlier before white's queen was on it. But black went the wrong way with h5, and he's now realizing that he needs to do something about these pieces. It looks to me like after rook a6 that black has time to play knight c7 and then play knight e6. So rook a6 doesn't quite do the trick. I think black is just in time to try to sort of extricate himself. He went the wrong way with h5, but now he's sort of realizing the dangers here. I think black should hold this. I mean, if you do the principle of two weaknesses, white's only really got one to work with on c6, and black needs to be careful. But oh, I see. Maybe rook b8, queen b8, knight g7, and knight e5. Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Black could regret playing h5 seriously here. I mean, he won't be able to play f6 without weakening g6. So I'm going to suggest rook b8, queen b8, knight d7, and knight to e5. Knight d7, queen d6, knight e5. Black has to defend c6. I mean, he can't really seriously think about playing knight a7. Maybe. Rook a6, knight c7. Rook a7, knight e6. Yeah, but what about my idea of playing rook b8, knight d7, and knight e5? Okay, say rook a6, knight c7, rook a7, knight e6, knight takes e6. Well, then queen takes e6. Can you win that pawn on c6 with rook c7, then rook b6, and a rook a6, rook c8? That's not enough to win. Why didn't Elliott trade and play knight d7 and knight e5? I'll never know. Ah, knight c7, rook a7, knight e6, rook d7. That's what we're missing. That's Elliott's little trick here. Knight c7, rook a7, knight e6, rook d7, and wins. right, so knight c7, rook a7. Ooh, black is getting tied up. He's really going to regret h5. Tanya, white's queen is doing a great job on c2. Black would have had much better defensive chances if he hadn't thrown in h5. Oh, maybe rook b8 was no good. Yeah, maybe should have kept the rook defending, or maybe should have played knight c7 right away. Then rook a7, knight e6, rook d7. Okay, all right, I don't know. These subtle positional masterpieces are beyond me. All right, let's take a look at, I think there's only one game remaining that's going on. This was a win, this was a win. Okay, there's this game where black is a pawn ahead. And this game, something is off with this. The DGT boards are not working properly here. And it may never, we may never find out what actually happens in this game. Or what actually, we'll know the result, but we won't know how they got there. Black didn't, this is not the correct position. And we're going to go all the way back up to Elliott's game. So there's only two games that really we're looking at here. So how can black defend this? Is there a threat? Maybe knight d3 and knight e5 is a threat here. Black is starting to feel the pressure. Rook c8. Where this black knight is kind of doing nothing here. And there is the idea of playing knight d3 and knight e5 still. I think back, it was back here that maybe black needed, black's position has not improved at all since this 5 moves ago. And it's maybe here that like something needs to be done. To improve the activity of the pieces. Rook b8 here, maybe. Okay. Not played. And the queen on d6, what does the queen on d6 do? Yeah, queen d6 was lame, I think, too. Black is starting to run out of moves here. Okay, so rook a7. And then the knight can't move because of rook d7. Maybe rook a8 after rook a7. Black is on a tightrope here. And maybe he is still okay. Rook a7, rook a8, then rook b7. We still have that one weakness thing. How about knight e4 check? I mean, knight e4. Ooh, maybe that would have been a good move. D takes e4, rook takes c6, and rook takes c7. Okay, so now knight b5, rook d7, queen f6. I think Elliot missed a shot there with knight e4. D takes e4, rook takes c6, and rook takes c7. Let's just quickly run down to this game. Black is a pawn ahead. And in this case, the h5, h4 thing looks like a good plan. Black for choice here. And these are the only two games because the other game is this has been a DGT failure here. So we'll go back up to Winslow, Clemens. And these guys have played each other a million times. Just going back here, I want to see after Black played knight c7, could White have played knight to e4? And if D takes e4, rook c6, and then rook takes c7. And after knight e4, d8, rook c6, knight b2. Oh, rook b2. Yeah, I was thinking along those lines too. Deflection, another deflection sacrifice. Too many of them. Knight e4, d4, rook c6, rook b2. And I guess you can continue to harass the queen or something along those lines. Okay, very good, Michael. Black is for choice here. Of course, being a pawn up. Let's go back to the Winslow game. So, is anything jumping out at us here? Rook a7. If knight b5, rook d7, queen f6. It looks like White's getting closer to his goal in that position, but it might not be enough. I like White for sure. It's a tough little game here. And it's almost seems like it's back to normal here at the mechanics. As players, I can hear them in the Skittles room talking and banging the pieces and interfering with my concentration. But bless them. They are the stuff that the Mechanics Institute is made of, the chess club, the regulars, the irregulars, we call them sometimes. And time might become a factor, sure. Let's take a jump down again to this game where we have A player versus expert. The A player is White, playing a tough game, holding on. He's lost his pawn, but round one of the Tuesday night marathon. game in 2 hours with the 5-second delay. I'm still liking black, but this game's got a ways to go. And Elliot is still thinking about his move. I think, if white can't achieve anything concrete, he's going to try to have to play knight d3 and knight e5. And actually, this is what happened. A few moves have been played here. And now knight e6 cannot be played because of rook d7. Ooh. Black is, and the threat is queen a5 with a vengeance. Uh-oh, this is looking very serious all of a sudden. Let's see, after knight c7, rook a7, he should have played the knight back to b5, I think. Rook b6. Black is getting all tied up in knots here. Queen a2 threatens queen a5. Is black actually just lost here? Oh, on rook g7 he can play queen f6 again. And then queen a8. I'd be scared if I were black here. Rook d7, queen b8 or queen f6. If queen b8, knight e6 check, and knight g5 maybe. I think black is in trouble here. Rook d7, queen f6 maybe, the only move. And then queen a5. Rook b8. White seems to be very, very close to a knockout here. I think rook d7 followed by queen a5 looks very strong. Black is getting tied up. Let's run down to this game. Still waiting for white to move. think rook d7, and if queen f6, queen a5, or queen f6, even queen a8, maybe. Yeah, knight d3 is strong, as is queen a5 or queen a8. Both are strong. I think look strong as well. I think this is very tough for black. Let's run down here. Still waiting for a move for white. Thanks everybody for joining us here, round one of the Tuesday night marathon since 1972. The Tuesday night marathon created here at the Mechanics Institute at the when the chess went from chess crazy after Fischer beat Spassky, or during, might have even started during the Fischer-Spassky match, or certainly right after it. Suddenly all these players, people joining the mechanics, and a huge interest in chess that we can hardly even remember now. I think even compared to the popularity that chess now enjoys due to the Queen's Gambit movie and internet chess and Nakamura and all that, is absolutely nothing compared to what it was like when Bobby Fischer played Boris Spassky at the height of the Cold War with Russia versus the United States and the lone American lunatic, you might say, cowboy, or whatever you want to call Fischer, versus the whole Russian machine of chess that had held the world title since 1948. You know, when Botvinnik won the tournament in the Netherlands and became the world champion. And Fischer came along and took it from the Soviets, and along came the Tuesday night marathon as a result, and it's part of his legacy in a way, part of Fischer's legacy, is that we have this tournament. Queen f6, knight d3, threatens knight e5, and that certainly looks strong. Now, queen a8 looks like penetration as well after queen f6. I think this is getting dire for black. I think knight d3 is maybe the Abel is in the other room directing the tournament, and I'm here providing the off the cuff commentary. So queen f6, knight d3, and that looks good. Very, very good. Does black have anything desperate there? Like, knight c3, queen a5, rook a2. Well, can't play rook b2, the knight's out. Queen f6, knight d3, knight c3, queen a7, knight e4. At least that temporarily, oh, then, yeah, then queen takes b6. Black is in trouble. Black is in trouble. Let's take a jump down to board 4. Looking good for black here. After queen e6. I think white can't seem to find anything to do here. Maybe he should have played h4 himself, I think. The h4 looks good now with the idea of playing h3 check. White should have played h4 in this position, I think. Okay. Might have been afraid of losing a pawn to bishop f8 and then losing the c4 pawn. That makes sense. All right, we're going to take a look at Winslow's game with Clemens here. Black played queen f6. And the question is, and this has really been sort of a a lesson in having your pieces not really doing anything. Active versus passive pieces here. Elliot, being the professional that he is using his time wisely to try to figure out exactly what he should do. Queen a8. So is this better than knight d3? Maybe. And notice that black can't move hardly anything here. It might be time to make some desperate moves. Knight d6. Equal. Well, I guess that somebody's using an engine, or and I probably should. Or knight d4. Knight d4 is a wild move, but maybe that's. Oh, and then rook b2. Trying to play rook b2. Or queen d4. So queen a8 was maybe a mistake. It certainly looks like black is under a lot of pressure. So what happens? Knight d6. Yeah, rook g8 and rook g8 check is not a threat when the king goes to h7. There's, with the queen sitting on f6, but so knight d6, rook d8, rook b2, knight d3. I'm confused. and then knight e4, and if rook g8, king h7. Yeah. well, Michael, I'm tired. Okay, so I'm looking at knight d6, rook g8. Well, okay, knight d6, rook d8, knight c4. Oh, threatening knight e3 and rook b2. Yeah. Oh, that is some serious counterplay. And he plays it. So, yeah. Yes, the rook g8 is not going to be a threat. I think it was white who needed to do the knight d3, knight e5 maneuver, and now we're going to see black do it instead. How bizarre is that? Rook g8, rook b2. Yeah, that's called white losing his way. And then if knight d3, queen f5. I think reason is starting to go out the window, and I'm talking about myself, not about the players. Yeah, knight d3. Knight d3 earlier for Elliott. He went astray with the queen a8 idea. He got halfway there. He was half baked. Yeah, this rook d8 and rook g8 check does nothing, absolutely nothing for white. Black has got all kinds of counterplay here that Michael is pointing out to us. I'm going to jump down to board 4, which I think is still going on. And we had, since Abel's here, I'm going to tell him that there was a DGT insanity on Joel Caron versus
is that right?
Adam Mercado. Yeah.
Oh, let me check that out.
Well,
because that game looks close.
oh yeah. Well, it's been off the charts for quite some time.
Is that right?
DGT craziness.
DGT mania.
Yeah. DGT.
Tomfoolery.
Yeah, some kind of DGT madness. Suddenly black is getting counterplay. Maybe white should just fall back with queen a2 or something. That's just not. All right, we'll go take a look at board 4 again. Boom, boom. And white takes on h4. And if queen takes h4, bishop takes e5, neatly defending the pawn at h2. And then queen h3 check, though. King G goes back to G1, because if the king comes up to the E file, then queen H5. So queen H4, bishop E5, queen H3 check, king E1, I guess is possible. Oh no, then queen E6. So the king has to go back to the G file. Queen H4, bishop E5, queen H3, check. King goes back to the G file. White's close to losing that. I might not be seeing the right thing. Back up to board one, knight g6, and Elliot's still thinking. He's in the think tank. The think tank of one person. Usually, yeah, queen g8, maybe just going into an endgame with a bind. Queen g8, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, and now black plays knight e4 to try to get rid of that knight. So black plays this massive centralizing move, queen e4, keeping an eye on, oh, he wants to play maybe queen h1 and queen h2. I mean, black is clearly better here, and this is an uphill fight for white. Also, queen b1 and queen a2 is in the cards here. You know, better king and everything else. This is close to a winning position, if not a winning position for black. Back up to board one. And Elliot is still thinking here. And we'll go back here. Okay, let's see. Did queen... Could he have played queen d1, king g2, queen c2? That might have been a more of a direct route to the a2 pawn. I like it. But he didn't play it. He played queen e4. Very difficult, these very delicate positions sometimes. And we're seeing that here. Both of these games are quite, you know, there's a lot hanging on every move, a lot of subtlety involved here. If only I was able to comment on it. If only I was able to see the subtlety. Actually, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. When I have Nick with me, sometimes he sees, he's capable of seeing some really amazing stuff. I have my flashes of brilliance, but and these games are coming down to the wire here, folks. Elliot's in the think tank, faced with rook b2, possibly, as well as knight e4. And knight g6 sort of unleashes all this potential for black after queen a8, and um, we were thinking that knight d3 to play knight e5, but black might have had a chance to play. It would have been interesting. Knight c3 maybe. If knight d3, knight c3 followed by a quick knight e4, might not have been as easy as that, as all of that. Okay, so knight g3, knight c3, queen a7, huh? Yeah, knight e4 that doesn't even threaten anything. You can just take the rook with the knight on d3. Huh. Elliot missed something there, I think, or backed up by some analysis there. Let's see, this game still hasn't gone out of DGT zombie land where it was. Elliot's still thinking, realizing this position is maybe a little more difficult than he thought. Back to board. And we have a couple of moves here. After queen e4, queen check, king h7 was played. Now, h5 doesn't quite expose the black king in the same way that this is a difficult position for white, especially with the bishop not anchored anywhere. It would look probably be pretty decent on e3 or g5, and maybe this is going to be tough for white to defend this, and he's down on time as well. And back up to board one, where Elliot is still thinking after knight d6. And so queen d8 is the move that we think white should play now. Michael's idea, get rid of black's counterplay. Forces the queens off. So what does black do? He trades queens, I suppose, and then what, plays knight e4 maybe? To try to bust out? The c pawn is still going to be a problem, but how does white make any progress there? Queen d8, rook d8, knight e4. Knight takes e4. It just seems like too much to ask that white can do anything there. Oh, maybe you could play the rook back to d6 and then play d5. Ah, okay, okay. Yeah, okay, so knight e4 won't work. So queen d8, rook d8, the knight has to go somewhere else, maybe to c4. But then white is sitting on black pretty nicely. Is there any other place for the Black Knight to go? Not really. It's just kind of wandering around. Although there could, Black could develop some serious counterplay with Knight C4 and Rook B2 or something like that. Okay. Tough little game here, and this game I would not want to have White's position here. If Black picks up one more pawn, picks up the H4 pawn, and then even a bishop ending would be probably one for Black there. So this is very tough for White. Elliott is still thinking. Back to board 4. Just as, yeah, all right, let's stay on board 1 here. So Michael, we expect you to get to master very quickly. The Queen D8, Queen takes D8, Knight E6 check. Oh, that's a trippy idea. Right out of the blue, Knight E6 check. No, that doesn't work, right? King takes F6. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Queen D8, Queen takes Knight E6 check, King to F6. Oh yeah, and then taking on D8. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And then you win the F7 pawn. In other words, you take back on D8 with the knight. What do you think, Michael? What a great idea. Queen D8, Queen takes D8, Knight E6 check, King F6, Knight takes D8. Here. You don't recapture the queen immediately, you play Knight E6 check. My head is spinning. What about Queen D8, Knight C4? That's a really nice line, proto-realist. Very, very sweet. And it shows to go you that every move needs to be examined, and these, we make recaptures automatically, and that's the kind of thing that we have to be careful about. These assumptions that so Queen D8. What about Knight C4? And that threatens Knight takes E3 check. Queen D8, Knight E4. Oh, Elliott goes back to Queen A2. And I say back because that's where the queen just came from. And he gave Black the move. All right, so he's basically this, as long as Christian doesn't play Knight B5 here, and instead doesn't, thinking that Elliott's trying to play something else. H4 for black. I like that. Elliot could be losing the thread here. Yeah, watching the initiative kind of slip around here. This is not a good sign here. I mean, what about knight c4 threatening rook b2? Then knight d3? Maybe he shouldn't have played it. No, well, knight d3. I mean, black has really improved the position of his knight. That's for sure. Rook b2 is a yeah, knight d3, queen f5. And white might have to bail out with something like rook b7 here. Rook b2 is an awful threat. Yeah. Well, there goes white's advantage. If he has to play rook b7, it just knight c4. Black managed to make two really. To reposition the knight at c4 is a huge plus. Queen e2, rook b2, queen f3, I guess. Yeah, h4 though. I mean, h4 was an interesting move, and after queen e2, h4 is still interesting. Queen f3, h3 check. That's the kind of thing, the nightmare on Chess Street. Okay, so black should play h4 now. And that threatens rook b2. Boy, suddenly black's pieces are like all cooperating, you know. Yeah, h4, rook b7 in the nick of time. Black needs to play actively here. If the rooks come off, then black is going to be fine. So I would play h4 and just force the situation right away. If white has to play rook b7, black's going to be okay. H4 is perfect timing for black, I guess. I mean, can white play g takes h4? I guess he could. Maybe g takes h4 is the right move after that. Slowly starting to get some chances, black. Boy, it's been an uphill struggle. What about this game? Ooh, black won another pawn on the queen side that's not doing much, but there could be some horrible coordination here between the black bishop, and if the black queen gets to f3 and the bishop gets to d4 or something like that, this is looking ugly for white. Back up to board one. He played rook b2. Little too simplistic, I think. Now black can still maybe hold this. But that rook on, I think black should have been trying to force the exchange of rooks. Well, there's no shot here, so the queens come off. And now white's threatening knight e6 and knight g5, or knight e6 and knight d8. Black went wrong here, I think. He has to move the king. He's going to play knight e4. It's not going to work. Oh, he could defend with rook c2 then. King f4, knight f1. All right, king g2, knight e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4. That looks like a draw, with the black rook being able to go to c2 to defend. Although rook c7, rook c2, d5, maybe not so easy. Okay, so white would be probably much better if not winning that. So king g2, knight back to c4. Threatening knight takes e3. All right, knight back to c4, and then what, rook e7? Rook knight e4 would be a mistake. So I think the knight should go back to c4. It looks like it should go back to c4. Probably should go back to c4. Tough one, guys and gals. Let's jump down to board 4 really quickly here and see how this game is progressing here. Looking nice for black for sure. Queen e2, followed by pawn to e3. Looks like black's winning something again. Board 1, he played the knight back to c4. Wise move. Wise move. Oh, knight d3? And if knight e3, what about knight d3 here? e4. The incredible Elliot Winslow. This should peter out to a draw, I think. I mean, both players have to be careful here. I mean, this moves like knight e3 and knight g4, or I would just take on e4 if I was black, probably to get that out of the way, and then I could play knight e3 check and well, black missed his chance to play h4, and now he's going to regret having the pawn on h5 again. You know, chess is full of regrets. Knight g5 is the threat now, I suppose. And maybe it's not so easy to deal with. Oh, knight e3 check. And knight d1 maybe. Black is better here, huh? It's interesting. '93 and 91. Is that it? Could that be
Hobby.
E4 was a blunder? We're updating another result. Or black
Yeah.
won. Oh, with bishop G3, bishop F2 check. Nice. Nice. Just
Did I record?
minimize it.
Oh, I did record. Okay, good.
So 93 check, king F3, knight G4, and then if H3. Earlier, after pawn to E4. 93, king F3, knight G4. Ah, yes. Yeah, E4 is a blunder. Okay. 93 check, king F3, knight G4, and if king had gone back to the back rank, then rook B1 was mate. Okay. Wow. Instead, black made a mistake, taking on E4, and now what? I think black looks like black can maintain should be able to maintain the position here. How about knight E3, king F3, knight D1? And if D5 takes, rook takes. Yeah, Clemens missed an opportunity. Trying to draw when he could have won. And just to show you the final position here, it had a cute finish after bishop c7. After queen e2, white played bishop g3, check, king g1, and wham, bishop f2 check. And that's pretty obvious that white is busted. Bishop f2, queen takes h3. So we're waiting. We're still here on board one. Where Christian Clemens missed a win with black. And white has this idea of playing knight g5 now. The missed win after e4 was knight e3 check, king f3, knight g4. Is that such an obvious, is that an easy win? E takes d5, rook f2 check, king e4. I guess black picks up the queenside pawns. Yeah, it would definitely put Elliot back on his heels. But after takes, and Black is thinking, was there something that he missed here? I mean, he can still play knight e3 and knight g4, but then comes h3. And what? He could play knight h6 and try to hold that position. Because if he moves to f6, oh, he can move to f6. And then what? White wins a pawn with takes and rook g6 and rook takes c6. Probably a winning position. After e4, knight e3, king f3, knight g4. If he plays e5, then rook f2 mate. So that doesn't work proto-realist in that variation. So king g8 here, I guess that's possible.
Sure.
Mate is a problem. Mate, oh, this is the last game of the tournament, I think, or last game of the round, rather. On board one, still a tense situation with Black going into what could be self-destructive mode, destructive mode here, with running his clock out and maybe not finding a clear line. So, I mean, I'm curious. Yeah, it's funny that am I missing something on the DG2 board? Because it says White's move. Well, White's clock is running. I'm going to go run out and take a look and see if there's an issue with the DGT board. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back to say that there's been some score sheet issues here, or DGT issue on board one again. They agreed to a draw. So I've missed that. It wasn't in this position. They played a few more moves. I'm just not sure what they were. So, oh, you're telling me they agreed to a draw. And I'm not sure. There's some problem with the DG.
Yes, so stop. Yeah, this is it right there. So
All right, so we're gonna reconstruct the game here.
six knight x e4.
This doesn't happen in the World Championship match.
Knight e3 check.
Uh-huh.
King f3. Knight g5.
Knight G4.
G4.
Uh-huh.
Knight h6.
Knight H6. Pawn H3.
Oh, wait a minute. Knight g5.
Pawn H3. Must be pawn H3 for white.
I think he messed up the.
And then knight H6. Okay.
Okay.
And then what did white play?
I think that's what we have. And then will it set his last move of the game?
No, they finished now.
No, they're not.
No. Just leave it like that. Yeah. Close the game.
Like that.
Okay.
You put that.
Oh, well, there's more moves here on suddenly.
Yeah, it might have corrected itself.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So how do I flee this thing?
Yeah, just leave it alone.
But I can't see.
Oh, minimize.
There we go.
There.
All right. Okay, folks, we are back in the action here, and we've had a lot of action. And Elliot is now plays knight f6, and both players are. And black exchanged on f6. Maybe he should have played knight takes f2 here. This seems to open up a road for the and I'm having some of my own issues here. So after knight f6, black took and plays c5, and white plays in at e5, and nobody's going to win this game now, I don't think. Black can play rook takes d4, I think. Okay. So rook c7, rook e4 check. Trades, king takes, g5 and f4, nobody, and that should be a draw, I think. King f7 might have been a mistake. After king e5, what is black going to do? G5, king f5, g4, king f6, king f4 wins for white. So this was a blunder on black's part, although it's not clear what happens. f4, okay. That's, and now f3 is the only move. And g5, king f5, g4, king g4, king f6, king f4, and it's a draw. G4, the only move, and it draws. Fantastic. King F4. Oh, wait a minute. White wins. The chess master wins. Incredible. King F5, King G7, King E6. Wow. Incredible. What a chess lesson for all of us. White wins with either F4 or King F6. Elliot got very lucky in this game. Well, folks, that should be a wrap here at the Mechanics Institute Chess Club. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. It's been a wild night of chess, to say the least. I feel sorry for Christian, who should have won this game at one point, and had the draw in hand throughout most of the game. So, remarkable. So, on behalf of myself and Abel Talamentes, and here as the director tonight, and Juan Sandejas providing logistical support, and all the chess fans out there, you're awesome, and keep tuned. Thursday we're back with the on Twitch with the Thursday night marathon, and so we'll see you then. I'm gonna see if I can sign out of this myself. I may need the help of may need the help of my boss, Abel. Hold on. I don't want to say goodbye to everybody, but you can as well.
You saw the ending, wow. And just for I was standing right there. It seemed to me like Christian should have taken with the pawn instead of the rook, but I don't know. Was that right?
Maybe it went by very quickly.
It was pretty crazy.
Quickly.
All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us till the very end, and we will be back next week. And then next week we'll be broadcasting.
Right, Thursday.
Oh yeah, Thursday for the last two rounds of the Thursday marathon. But for the Tuesday marathon, we'll be broadcasting on Chess 24 and Follow Chess and all of that stuff. So we will see you on Thursday night and next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.